So, if you watched The Acolyte, there were lots of characters that came and went really fast, and the episodes were kind of short. And if you watched the whole season, there was one person in there that made it throughout the whole season, and that was Vanessa Rowe. And she was a Jedi Master. It was never clear what she was. She wasn't a Grand Master because at the very end we see Yoda. So I think Yoda was a Grand Master at that time. He might not have been. Um, but I don't think Vanessa Rowe was the Grand Master at the time. I was reading an article from StarWarsNews.net that said that Leslie Headland wishes she would have been able to expand Vanessa Rowe's story. So let me pull up this article and we'll go through it. So there we see Vanessa Rowe, and it says Leslie Headland regrets not expanding on Vanessa Rowe's story. Now that The Acolyte is finished, Leslie Headland has been reflecting on it in interviews and claims her biggest regret is that she couldn't do more with Vanessa Rowe. Vanessa Rowe was one of the few characters with a sizable backstory going into the show, and some fans were disappointed at how little we got to see of this fan favorite character, particularly when it came to understanding her change of persona from the books. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Headland admitted that her biggest regret from The Acolyte's first season was not being able to do more with Vanessa Rowe. There was something I kept trying to slip in, but there was so much. It's a really packed season, and I love that. My goal is to explore as many nooks and crannies as I can in the time I am given, and Star Wars is a perfect place to do that because there's nothing but good nooks and crannies. All this world that's available to you, and you can dig into it. So, of course, there were things that I didn't get to explore. One thing that a potential second season of The Acolyte could do, a season that hasn't officially been renewed, and Headland claims she heard nothing on that, is explore the relationship between Vanessa Rowe and the Stranger, who were heavily implied to once been Jedi Master and Apprentice. Headland admits that it's something she would like to explore. I can't confirm or deny that it's something that we are thinking about, but I think if we're allowed to continue telling the story, you'll see more of Vern's history with the Stranger and how that's affecting the decisions she's making now. While there is some regret over Vanessa Rowe, Headland is really happy with the two big cameos in the season finale in Darth Plagueis and Yoda, two appearances that would also set up some enticing storylines in the second season. If I could do Plagueis or Yoda, I think that would have been a real heartbreak. I think it sets up future storylines that could be really compelling. We wanted to answer a lot of questions. We wanted to show Khmer's master. We weren't going to wait a second season for that. We wanted to wrap up the twin storyline. We were not going to leave everybody hanging. They've sat through all of this, and we want to reward people for watching. The dangling of other stuff, especially the legacy stuff, like what's Manny's name, Yoda, Plagueis, and what the background is with Vanessa and her relationship with the Senate, and how that's going to unfold with this sort of internal review of the Jedi. Where does that lead? So it was a lot of, how is this going to fit into what we later see? That was the step I wanted to save for the tease, as well as Osha and the Stranger's relationship. I felt like that was a good thing to tease as well. Mostly, I need a full season for that. Overall, Headland is delighted with all the things she did get to do in The Acolyte's first season, and joyous that she got to play in the Star Wars sandbox as a longtime fan herself. It's such a triumph for me that in the making of it, there was no part of me that was like, I'm not going to fight for something. I'm going to get effing Cortosis in there no matter what. I'm going to get Amandala in there doing her own action, which she had never done before. And she stepped the hell up in order to do that. I got to do a corruption arc. I got to do a female character who is choosing darkness and evil, which is honestly my brand. But then I got to do it in this world. Those storylines do sound pretty tasty for a second season of The Acolyte. Hopefully we hear news on it sometime soon, which would surely give Vanessa Rowe a bigger role and expand on Plagueis and Yoda's involvement. So what do you think about this article? I have 3 points I want to discuss. The first is about Vanessa Rowe. Throughout the whole season, Vanessa Rowe came off as very wooden. She was not the epitome of a Jedi. She did not show any emotion. she would have made a better Vulcan in Star Trek than a Jedi. She was not anything that you would want a Jedi to be. And they even said in the article that there's a change of persona from the books. Well, why would you do that? The books are canon, right? But then you're making these movies and shows that are canon too. So these are going to be two different things that are not going to mesh. So that's not a good thing. The second thing is she's saying she wished she would have had more time to do storylines. Well, the episodes were so short. 4 and 5, I think, were, at the 30-minute mark, they were cutting off the show. Why didn't you make the episodes longer if you wanted to put more stuff in there about her backstory? You could have done that. I mean, did you just film the whole season and then just chop it up? You could have made, a lot of the episodes an hour long. I mean, I think the longest one was 48 minutes. Then you would have had time to tell your story and maybe expand a little bit where it didn't seem so rushed. And the last thing I want to talk about is them doing the cameos of Plagueis and Yoda. So my biggest question is, because she says it kind of half-heartedly that Plagueis was Qumir's master. Is that true? Or I guess it must be. And then Yoda, when Vanessa Rowe at the very end says we need to talk to Yoda, is she going to sit there and lie to Yoda about what happened? Yoda will be able to sense that with the Force and feel the confliction within Vanessa Rowe. Or is Vanessa Rowe going to tell Yoda that her apprentice is back as a Sith, and then Yoda will know that there's been Sith within the last 1,000 years to totally make the Phantom Menace a wash? Because if that's the case, that would be such terrible writing, such terrible writing. Why can't they have people that had watched the movies who were immersed in the Star Wars lore to write this stuff? Because you have people that never saw Star Wars, didn't know anything about it, took a crash course before this series, and then decided to write these episodes. And it's just a mishmash of things. I don't know. If they get in that second episode, I'll watch it, but please don't have a season-long episodes of nothing but this romance between Quimir and Osha. It's just, I don't, write something good. Please. All right. If you like this video, then hopefully you'll like this video. May the Force be with you. Always.